We're good.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We're going to vote to go into closed session for discussion and/or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under general laws of Rhode Island, RIGL 42-46-5, A1, A2, A4, A8, and A9.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would also note for the record that any individuals to be discussed have been so noted.
Thank you.
Just add it.
You really wicked?
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic for which it stands.
Justice for all. If everybody could still stand for a moment of silence, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Joe Galucci. He was a great man and a total gentleman, and it's a big loss for our community. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, then to vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
There were no votes taken in executive session. So we'll move on to recognitions.
Hello, good evening. My name is Cameron. I am the Technology Curriculum Coordinator for the district, serving on the Curriculum and Instruction team. And it is a really great honor to be here this evening to recognize one of our very talented educators among many talented educators that we have in the district. Beginning in my role in September, I asked Wendy the opportunity to have one-on-one meetings with different team members across the district. The educator being recognized this evening is someone who stood out to me for four main reasons. First, she demonstrated a deep passion for math resources, which I'm sure you all have heard many times before, but more importantly, the mathematics that our children need to be successful. Her and I talked for a very long time about math strings. So think about numbers like 5 times 10 versus 5 times 100 and how we can use those strategies to support our students. The second thing that stood out to me was her unlimited belief in the potential of every child in Warwick and being successful in mathematics. Third, she believed in the collective efficacy of our small but mighty math team. While we do have just 7 math interventionists at the elementary level, she believed strongly and advocated to ensure that we met as a team to share our best practices. Finally, this individual is an advocate for mathematics statewide. She serves as an executive board member for the Rhode Island Mathematics Teachers Association, and she also often is an educator who supports the work that occurs through the Rhode Island Department of Education in mathematics. The award that she's being recognized this evening is the highest honor bestowed by the US government for K-12 educators in math and science. The award is given annually to outstanding educators, one for each state and US territory, and recognizes those teachers who develop and implement high quality instructional programs informed by content and enhance student learning. The awardees serve as models for colleagues nationally. So on behalf of our entire Warwick community, it is with great honor that we recognize Nikki Green as the Rhode Island State finalist for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science. Well done, Nikki.
On behalf of the school committee, we are very proud to have you, and we can't thank you enough for what you do for our district. And it's nice to have something wonderful like that happen for us, and thank you very much. You make us proud.
Madam Chair, may I say one thing?
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Green, I couldn't be more happy on a personal level. Back when I first got on this committee and we're in budget discussions about math interventionists, the possibility of eliminating math interventionists, I sat with Ms. Green at a Starbucks in Garden City for about 2.5 hours or 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. And she schooled me into what math interventionists do and their value. And since then, I've come to find, I don't think she'll take the backseat to no one in her dedication to her craft and to her students. Very proud of her. Congratulations, well earned.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'd also like to say a few words in honor of Nicole Green. On behalf of the Warwick School Department, it is my honor to recognize Nicole Green, who is a math interventionist. I'm being named the state finalist for the 2020 Presidential Award for the Excellence of Mathematics Teaching. This award recognizes teachers that have deep content knowledge and the ability to motivate and engage students. It has been my pleasure to have worked with Nikki for over the past 25 years. I personally have seen the dedication, commitment, and hard work that she brings to her students on a daily basis. This effort has helped students succeed. Nikki has that can-do spirit, which provides students with the confidence needed to take risks and persevere. Congratulations on this amazing accomplishment. The Warwick School Department is truly fortunate to have Nicole Green as part of their team. And I know Nicole is with us tonight, and I believe she'd like to say a couple of words too, Madam Chair.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here tonight. If you know me, you know this is not my thing. I'm like a nervous wreck right now, but I am beyond humbled by all of the words and congratulations. I'm totally honored and overwhelmed. But I'm grateful that all 25 years have been here in Warwick. I am proud of this district. I'm proud of my colleagues who I feel work harder than I do. My classroom teachers at both Holloman and Norwood, my principals, everyone is just amazing to work with at both schools and in Warwick in general. I have been an interventionist for 5 years. I campaigned for these positions for a long time, probably a good 4 or 5 years before they were even a possibility. So I've always believed in these positions and the power that we can bring to the classroom to help students, to help our teachers grow. My goal and mission is to make everyone love math as much as I do. And I love some of the kids that come in, especially my older ones, that say, I hate math. And I say to them, challenge accepted. You will not hate math by the last day of school. And usually I win, so. But I thank you for honoring me tonight. I did meet with Dave. I was so grateful that that first year, way back when, because these positions are needed. And I will put a shameless plug that someday when we have money, I know that that will never be. But when and if we do, if we hit the lottery, we definitely need an interventionist at every building. These positions are needed and we're often the first cut, but I will advocate all day long. And as many of you have been on the committee have seen me. So I thank you for keeping us around for as long as we have been. And I look forward to all the great things that Warwick has coming its way. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe in the future, when we can all be in person, we can properly give you an award and shake your hand for all the great work that you do for us.
We'll do an air high five.
Oh, no, it's the elbow now, right? The elbow. Thank you again. The next item is going to talk about the Togi Girls Soccer Division III State
Madam
Championship.
Chair,
Yes, yeah, Ms. Bacchus, yeah.
Ms. Bacchus, you muted yourself when you unmuted.
hello?
There you go.
Yep.
I'm getting a couple of messages from people who say that they can't hear the folks in the room very well.
That's what I got.
So I don't know if you can change the soundboard or whatever to make it louder.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Bacchus. So Beth, Tollgate High School,
Thank you.
Division III state champions, led by Coach Bob Emray. Unfortunately, we don't have all the kids. We haven't figured out how we can get them all together. But for tonight, I'm just going to read off their names. Abigail Alberg, Regan Allen, Adeline Harrison, Nika Allen, Felicity Butts, Morgan Canelio, Megan Carrerio, Cassie Sorella, Madison Clark, Mackenzie Costa, Olivia Dutra, Callie Pregundes, Lee Fortin, Victoria Halstead, Faith Kennedy, Caitlin Puncio, Samantha Loren, Madison Lodge, Brooklyn Nelly, Erin McKinnon, Rachel Moretti, Juliana Roa, Juliana Satchero Gomez, Kylie Whitney, and Tara Yelman. Again, Division III state champs for Warwick, make us proud, and hopefully we can award them properly. So let's see what we're doing. Next, we are blessed again in Warwick to having the Pilgrim High School girls varsity soccer Division I finalists, led by Coach Tom Flanders. Again, we have to figure out how we can do this over COVID. Normally, we have all the kids come up and we give them awards, but I'll just read their names for now. Kelsey Baker, Riley Bromage, Jillian Brown, Lily Brown, Ella Centracchio, Alana Coffey, Amaya Coffey, Madison D'Amato, Gabriel Diffley, Lindsay Flanders, Destiny Frias, Lily Howard, Katie Ignali, Sarah Lynch, Haley Marco, Ella McCusker, Gabriel McCowan, Faith Mead, Janelle Mixner, Katrina Moda, Amelia Murphy, Kiara Ramsden, Katie Shaheen, Jaden Slater, Dasani Stewart, Faye Strain, and Kylie Strain. Again, Division I finalists for Pilgrim High School girls varsity soccer. Even during COVID, so it's nice to see good things still happening.
Madam Chair, I'd also add that team had 3 first-team Providence River All-Staters on it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. And I believe Mr. Flanders won a coaching award from RILL. Okay, next we have public comment.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I have several this evening. My first one is from Geraldine Socha. I support 2 weeks full distance learning after February vacation. Judith Sunderland. I do not support full distance learning. This is not responsible education for our children. Amy Spooner. I am in favor of the 2-week DT after the February break. Amy Parks. The proposed action to have students return to DL following the February vacation is unacceptable. Our students have just returned to in-person learning and are beginning to adjust to make progress. Another disruption to their routine would be detrimental to their learning and mental health. If families choose to go on vacation, then that is up to them to DL and quarantine upon their return. This should not be forced upon all families. Please make the right decision and allow our children to return to in-person learning after the February break. It's from Kim Borton.
Could I just interrupt for a minute? I'm getting messages that people can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I'm having a trouble hearing you.
Is that working?
Yeah, I know masks are a problem. Okay, thank you. We're trying, people. We're trying.
This is from Kim Borton. Hello, I just wanted to let this committee know how happy my child is to be back in school. I heard there was consideration of another 2-week pause. This is absurd. These kids are just getting back into the swing of things, and you want to pull them out again. For what reason this is getting out of control? These are our children, and as their parents, we should decide, not this committee. I have lived in Warwick for 3 years now, and am seriously considering selling my house and moving out of this town. My child deserves an education. How come all the other towns are doing this, but we can't seem to get it together? A very concerned parent and frontline worker. From Nina Atwood. I am writing this because I feel if our kids have another break, it will just set them behind more. My youngest daughter is finally starting to adjust to a 2-day in-person school week. I feel it would be in their best interest to attend school for 5 days a week, not to go backwards and have them restart with a break. That's insane. Her grades are awful from doing DL for so long, and her mental health has suffered greatly. My daughter has no ambition to do anything, not even a walk outside. I go to bed every night praying for things to get better. I worry for her every minute of every day. This should not be how it should be. Our kids deserve better than this. This is from Nancy Krause. When I saw the agenda for this meeting, I couldn't believe another 2-week pause was listed as a topic of discussion. Honestly, what is there to discuss? If we should be discussing anything, it's how we can move forward. It should be how we can get the younger kids in school 5 days a week, or the secondary students back in school at least 4 days. After months of begging, this committee finally did the right thing by these kids. After nearly a year, they're finally finding some joy, some stability, some normalcy. Now you're considering taking that away, and you wonder why there's a movement to remove some of you from this committee. Most of you don't have children of your own, and it shows. Because if you had kids, you would understand the damage your policies and months of inaction have caused these children. My pediatrician, who is very well regarded, told me he went from prescribing anti-anxiety, antidepressants 1 or 2 times a month to prescribing them 1 or 2 times a day. Think about that. What he used to prescribe in a month, he now prescribes every single day. And that's just one doctor. The dire mental state these kids are in is a direct result of this committee's decisions that have real and perhaps deadly consequences. I'm not one for dramatics, but if that does happen, you all, save one of you, will have blood on your hands. If you are considering a 2-week pause because of what might happen if people travel, that's dangerous precedents to set. Let's deal with facts. Cases continue to go down, more people are being vaccinated. Trust that if people go away, most will follow protocol. If you see a spike in a school, then react to that. Otherwise, let these kids stay in school. I implore you to follow the science and listen to the medical professionals. Your jobs and our kids' lives may just depend on it. Sarah Dempsey. I'm a parent of 2 children in the Warwick Public School, and I'm writing to express my frustration with the sweeping closure of classrooms for a full 14 days, despite the recommended guidelines by the CDC and the Rhode Island Department of Health. Quarantining students who do not meet the criteria of close contacts is not only unnecessary, but detrimental to their already diminished education this year. Elementary school is considering every person in the room a close contact and reporting to the Department of Health despite every student not meeting the criteria based on Department of Health definition. The air filters are in place, the students are spaced apart, and they are wearing their masks and practicing frequent hand hygiene. The correct information should be reported to the DOH, and the entire class should not be forced into DL. I'm an advanced practice nurse and certainly appreciate the need for safety, but the students have not been shown to be classmates while masked and spaced out 6 feet apart. WPS needs to relax their stance based on the evidence available and the guidelines set out by Rhode Island Department of Health. I would like to see the data on how many subsequent positive cases in Warwick have been linked back to a classroom exposure, though I wager it's close to 0. Current CDC and RODOH guidelines state that a negative test on day 5 after a true exposure 15 minutes within a 6 feet distance, allows for release from quarantine after 7 days. As for arbitrarily moving to distance learning after February school vacation, this simply is unnecessary based on the current downward trends of COVID cases and relaxed restrictions in various other settings in the state. Education of our children is essential. Business and this is best achieved in person for those families who choose it. This is from Jennifer McCullough. I am emailing in regards to a couple of different items. One concerning an email parent guardians received from my son's elementary school this week from his principal, which addressed in-person learners. My understanding of in-person learners was that if a child is absent from school for whatever reason they may have, then they could do distance learning for the day. However, it seems this is not the case. The email sent stated if a child is absent due to illness, tardy or late or weather related, then an in-person learner cannot do distance learning for the day, and they must make up their work upon return. How does this make sense? If my child is willing and able to be present for school in a distance learning manner, then they should be allowed to participate. And they cannot participate if weather related. So if school is canceled due to a snowstorm, only distance learners can log on and attend school. If a distance learner is sick, are they not allowed to log in for school? It seems as if in-person learners are being penalized. Why are we putting our kids behind in schoolwork? I have also asked other parents if other schools in Warwick have this policy, and it seems only a couple do. Why are these schools not on the same page? This needs to be a district policy and uniform within schools. Also, I feel it is a major mistake if you shut schools down for a 2-week break. These kids are just getting back into a routine and enjoying school. We need to keep going strong for better education for these kids. We owe it to them. This is from Maya Sherman. Dear members of the school committee and administration, distance learning has been the biggest negative impact on my family's mental health. There is no reason to keep children out of school any longer, especially for 2 additional weeks after February recess. Since September, many have been asking to have a choice for in-person learning. We have fought hard for a choice. We have seen the positive effects on our own child in learning in person. The distance learning experience has been appalling. Please do not make the DL experience worse than it already has been for so many families. Those that want to do distance learning still can do so. Mitigation methods in our school are working, and while a few COVID-19 cases have happened, experience has proven that the virus is not spreading in the schools. I am asking you not to keep those away from school that needs to be learning in person. These children should not be forced into distance learning for 2 additional weeks. Too many days have already been missed. Fear is not a viable reason for reversion to a broken system of learning. This is from Stacy Richard. Please do not require 2 weeks to yell after February vacation. It's so unfair to anyone not going anywhere. Andrea Reese. Here I am again writing to you with great concern. When I saw the agenda for this meeting, I couldn't believe another 2-week pause was going to be the topic of discussion. What is there to discuss? If you need to discuss anything, it's how we can move forward with getting the students back full time. After months of talk, this committee finally did right by these kids. After just about a year, they're finally finding some happiness, stability, and normalcy. Now you want to take that away again. This school committee shouldn't be shocked about petitions and other actions being taken to remove some of you from this committee. I can't wrap my head around how any of you think this should even be a discussion. I implore you to not vote on this. It is not fair. You are playing with our children like this is a ping pong game. I have never seen so many happy and thriving children since being back to school. You have to be real cold-hearted to even pull back at this point. The CDC said it's safe. The state numbers are trending in the right direction, and the vaccine is rolled out. What more do you people need to stop playing with our children? Enough is enough. Please, if you have any care in the world, stop talking about a pause and start talking about how to get the kids back full time. You owe it to them. It's from Jessica Vick. This is absolutely absurd. These kids are finally starting to get back in the swing of things. Now to have 3 weeks total back at home. Very few people will be traveling this break. If they travel, let them quarantine and not the whole entire district. Amy Whalen, I am writing to you not to mandate 2 weeks of DL after February break. Kids just got back to school and moving backwards should not be a thought. My high schooler has had just a few days in person since it started. His entire demeanor and feelings of school are so different on his in-person days. My elementary child started this year not reading at his level. Now he is reading at a level of 2 grades higher. Why can't we cancel February break? The parents who are DL only get to make that choice. Those of us who choose in person can't make our own choice about our children's education. We can't disrupt their schooling anymore because some people are scared or afraid of what ifs. Elizabeth Eminger. We may be just one of many Warwick schools, but we matter too. I feel we constantly need to remind you of our existence. Wealth has been up and running from the beginning. We show up every day. We continue to work under less than ideal conditions. We continue to do everything we are required to keep our school going. We do this so we can continue to support and provide for our students and their significant needs. These are my words, but I can guarantee I speak for my students' parents as well. Please do not switch to DL for 2 weeks after February vacation. The absolute disservice this will bring to our Warwick population is unacceptable. We have proven we are committed to in-person learning. It is essential for our students to be with us to get their services they are guaranteed by law. With every DL day, they lose out on individual instruction, speech, OTPT, and the appropriate attention to each child's individual goals. We have come this far. We cannot afford to go backwards anymore. It has taken a toll on our students' progress and social and emotional. We have done all we have been asked to do and more. To not look past our youngest students' needs because of their age. Preschool is meant to be the start of a child's education journey. Ours is that. So it is the vital foundation from which they need to rise from. It is our responsibility to prepare them to move forward. Please keep us in person. This is from Sarah Neal. I submit the following for public comment concerning going back to DL for the 2 weeks after February vacation. While I understand this is only a discussion item at this point, I implore you to reject taking action on this for a couple of reasons. First, you cannot keep jerking these kids around. Yes, I understand that a classroom can have a positive case and go to DL until quarantine is over. However, this is an arbitrary reason to push them back to DL. It just seems cruel to do so when kids haven't been back to full in-person school for even a month yet. For a body determined to put the best interests of students first, having constant disruptions in their schedule, particularly without cause, will not achieve that goal. Second, why would you punish the collective over the actions of a few? We all knew what will be required of us when we sent our kids back to school. We would have to screen our kids each morning for symptoms, answer those questions truthfully, and if we travel, we have to quarantine per Rhode Island Department of Health's instruction. We understand how important it is to follow the rules so our kids can learn in person. Will some choose not to? Of course. But if the school committee is that concerned about it, a more targeted approach should be implemented. I don't think it's fair to punish families like mine that are staying put for February vacation. In closing, this body has to stop creating problems to solve. As the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Going back to DL for those 2 weeks after February vacation would be exactly that, a solution in search of a problem. The goal should be allowing as much in-person learning to happen as possible. So I implore the school committee to stay the course and allow in-person instruction to happen until such a point where it is impossible to continue. Thank you for your consideration. This is from Ryan McGowan. My wife and I are graduates of Warwick Public Schools and parents of students in our school system. We also own a business in Warwick. When it comes to making decisions in emotional times, it's important to consider the mission and or core values of an organization. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a mission statement for the Warwick School Department on its website, but I did find relevant information described in the Student Code of Ethics. Because no learning can take place in an atmosphere of chaos or fear, a safe and orderly environment must be guaranteed to all students. Second, discipline and in our schools should reinforce the following values: responsibility, dependability, truthfulness, honesty, the willingness to accept the consequences for one's actions. Given that approximately 75% of parents chose in-person learning as the preferred environment to educate their children, it is clear what the vested taxpayers of our city want and expect from our schools. We ask that the administration adhere to the same values we expect of our students and keep our children's education as the primary focus and function of school and world. Respectfully, Brian and Lori McGowan. Yes, we request that the school committee, in concert with teachers, parents, and students, create a mission statement for Warwick Public Schools. It will be useful in the future as other challenging decisions are bound to present themselves. This is from Kimberly Vecchio. Students need to be in school in person, the end. Many of the students I work with especially simply cannot participate in DL in a meaningful way, and taking away any more in-person time is a huge detriment to them. At a bare minimum, this topic should have been voted on weeks ago. 2 days notice for parents, teachers, and staff to prepare for a switch to DL and what is not an emergency decision is absolutely unreasonable. It is outrageous to continue to require your staff to literally be prepared for every possible scenario decision you make. It is in fact impossible to do. You might argue that we have a week to prepare, and if that is what you conclude, I would encourage you to look up the definition of the word vacation. We have been here working hard every day for these students. We will continue to be here after vacation. To continue to ask us to sacrifice our lives with our families and to ask our school families to sacrifice their incomes, livelihoods, and sanity unnecessarily is senseless and will only continue to hurt already suffering students and families, as well as burn out already severely burnt-out teachers and staff. For Brian Morse. Please do not consider 2 weeks of remote learning after February vacation a viable option. I do not understand why this is being considered. Students are finally getting back into a normal routine and receiving the education that they deserve. The students in this district have missed enough schooling this school year. The school committee should have been considering canceling February vacation if they felt this would cause issues with students returning post-vacation. There's absolutely no scientific or factual studies that can justify keeping the students out of school after a vacation week. The Warwick School Committee has already caused enough damage to the students in this district. Please leave the students in school and stop interfering with their education. It's from Jennifer Goff. Dear WPS School Committee members and administration, I am writing to you to ask for your support to please keep our children in person after the February vacation. My son's emotional well-being has improved dramatically since the 4-day-a-week implementation, and I, as well as many other parents, need to see that continue. Our children need consistency, routine, and peer interaction on a daily basis. Putting them back and forth between DL and in person will only hinder that improvement. If the student travels, then there is already a plan in place for that student to participate in distance learning, so that should mitigate any issues of potential exposure, which is why many of us parents are confused why this 2-week DL plan is even a topic of discussion. I hope that the students are your primary concern because they have already missed out on too much this year and they need in-person instruction to continue without any more future interruptions. When it comes to where there is a vote on this agenda item, I'm asking that you please think of the students and support continued in-person instruction. Jennifer Wrench. Thank you to the school committee members that are responded to my email last week. To Mr. Cornell and Mr. Adams, as a parent and member of the community, I believe I at least deserve to know your thoughts on matters directly influencing my child's education and well-being. A simple, even-handed response if inquiries are overwhelming would have been sufficient. 4 total days my child has been in person since last March for a baby step in the right direction. My kid meets people, needs her peers and teachers in the flesh, and I hope rumors of rewording solely to DL are simply just that. I care about the safety of staff and teachers, but also about the growth and mental health of my child. DL has taken a toll that I hope is temporary. I school level, ensures children can follow directions, maintain safe perimeters, and wash their own areas. Masks and hand washing works, as it has kept me healthy working at the hospital since the onset. Please continue to work toward full in learning so students that prefer learning in person are given the option. Stephanie Taylor, 7 days. That is how long my 8th grader will be in person learning at the end of this week. 7 days out of 98. 7 days in school since March 12, 2020. She couldn't go to the last day because she had a call. How can you justify closing schools for 2 weeks after February vacation? Is it because people will be traveling? Seeing as there are not many places to go, it sounds to me like an extended vacation for the students. Every hotel has Wi-Fi, so are you going to cancel another 2 weeks after that? How about another after that? Would you keep going? Our numbers are going down and people are being vaccinated. There's just no justification for this senseless closing. These students need to be in school. Scott Phillips. Our elected officials have a duty to represent the city of Warwick and its taxpayers in a professional manner at all times, not just when they get what they want, not just when things are going good for them, at all times. Sadly, this has not been the case for some time now. You were elected to help shape our schools and the future of our children. We did not elect you to waste our time bickering and working up with personal issues during school committee meetings. We did not elect you to waste our time while you throw temper tantrums because someone stole your crown. Grow up. Our school committee should not need lessons on how to act for 6th graders. Many of the meetings have been so unprofessional that it's been an embarrassment to you, to the city, and to all of the taxpayers in the city. Some of you, one long-standing member in particular, seems to have forgotten your job is to work to support our schools, our students, our teachers, and our taxpayers. Your job is not to handle your personal business or throw temper tantrums and not get what you wanted. You can do that on your own time. Whether anyone likes it or not, there is a new chair of the school committee. She runs the meeting. You cannot handle that without acting like a child and step down, and we can elect someone who will serve proudly on the school committee in a professional manner and be happy to be able to serve rather than just want to be chair. A couple of years back, a member of the committee got up in a meeting and yelled at the superintendent, "You work for us." Well, guess what? The taxpayers have something to say to you. You work for us. Can you please grow up, stop being selfish, and get back to doing the business of helping our schools because God knows they need it. Tess Mester. As a mother of a teacher and grandmother of a student, I want to express my thoughts on DL after break. Although guidance is in place for travelers, unfortunately, families do not always comply. Just in this past week, I am aware of 2 separate incidents where a student traveled to a hotspot and attended school right after. If it wasn't for someone knowing these families had traveled and told someone, they would have been in class the entire time. That's just what I'm aware of. How many others are we unaware of? That's not acceptable. As a mother and grandmother, that concerns me because my family has followed every single rule. This is not the time to ease up on restrictions. Although it's not ideal, this is the safest way to ensure your staff and students are safe. Can I take a break?
Sure, because I'm feeling. Do you want me to read some of them? A little lightheaded. Are you all right? You want me to read the rest?
Yeah,
That's very good.
it's hard to read through this for a long time.
Remember? Hey, I'm taking over. We have just a few more. We're gonna allow it to go over the 30 minutes tonight, so there's only a few more. The next public comment is from Darlene Necko. Here are two reopening of schools issues. Now that all Warwick schools are open to in-person learning, the time has come to seriously consider making the state hold COVID-19 tests for all our schools. Although our schools have air purifiers and the sanitation protocols in place, the reality is that the virus is in the schools and it is in general population, and there is no way to definitely assert the schools are not a source of spread unless the testing occurs. Furthermore, the travel in which many families will partake over the February vacation may lead to the same precipitous rise in cases of the virus that the state and city experienced after Thanksgiving and Christmas. Hopefully, anyone who travels will self-quarantine, but until mass vaccinations occur, the testing could alleviate some concerns about the spread of COVID-19 that the adults in the buildings have. Additionally, now that the schools are filled with students, the limits of the existing technology have never been more apparent. Although the elementary schools are finally receiving Promethean boards, there is still a dearth of basic necessary technology. The elementary schools do not have enough Chromebooks, and the touchscreen Chromebooks for the kindergarten students still have not arrived. Also, as I have previously stated, the current scenario in which teachers have to teach simultaneously both in person and distance learning only students because more egregious and unsustainable every day, especially at the elementary level. Teachers have had to purchase their own equipment. Are you going to reimburse them? Furthermore, due to the unreliable Wi-Fi in many of the schools, even if the teachers have the appropriate technology, they can't use it because they cannot connect to the internet. Because the Wi-Fi is so horrendous, the district even had to close the school for an entire day. If your current provider is incapable of servicing schools properly during this time and with reliable internet access is imperative, then you need to look elsewhere. Please implement regular COVID-19 testing and solve the ongoing technology issues. Thank you. The next one is from Jane Ingerson. Yes, we should quarantine and do distance learning for 2 weeks after February vacation. The last one is from Daniel and Sandra Rivera. We have 2 kids in the Warwick school system and like to first acknowledge the great job that the staff at Oakland Beach Elementary and Sherman Elementary have been doing to keep our kids safe in the classroom. We have no doubt that they will continue to provide a safe environment for them, including the weeks following February vacation. We are more concerned, however, if the schools close again, especially 3 weeks straight. This really puts unnecessary stress on all the kids, especially kids that receive special education services like our son that attend Oakland Beach. We know the benefits of the in-person classes and the therapy he receives there. It's invaluable. We also know the negative effects and struggles that switching back and forth between distance learning and in-person classes presents to him. This is especially true when distance learning goes on for weeks and months at a time. Even though our son is nonverbal, we can see his frustration levels and his irritability increase during the long periods of distance learning. We also witnessed him regressing in some areas of therapy that the school staff worked so hard at helping him with. This is also a good time to remind ourselves the reason why these kids are provided with ESY services during the summer months. They need consistency and structure. Our son also really thrives off the interactions with school staff and kids in his classroom. Not only does this in-person setting offer him education and therapy services, but it also provides an additional place for him to be loved and accepted. Please highly consider keeping all the schools open for in-person classes and services the 2 weeks following February vacation. If this isn't possible, at the very least, please keep in-person classes and services open for the kids that require special education services at school. Thank you for your time and consideration. That is the last one. We allowed it to go a little over. I will say that there were some that were eliminated because they either sent it twice, they didn't put their full names on it, and it wasn't on any of the topics on our agenda. That will also be rejected. And that's, the rest of them are, that's the only, people say, oh, we're censoring them, they're not being censored. Those are just the rules, and it's like that for most places like the city council also. So we appreciate you writing in, and if you didn't follow the protocol, we're sorry, but we couldn't read it. Okay, on to recommended actions. Approval of minutes for public sessions. January 7th, 2021, January 12th, 2021, January 13th, 2021, and January 21st, 2021.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of warrants, February 9th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Approval of transfers, February 9th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
7. Now we move on to the adoption of policies. JE student attendance, second reading. Dr. Cecil.
Yes, good evening, school committee. Tonight I'm bringing back policy JE student attendance for the second read. This is the policy where we added language concerning attendance requirements around distance learning. We read through it last school committee meeting, and so I'm asking for approval of second read.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor
May I just have one comment?
of discussion? Yeah. Mr.
Thank you.
Testa?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know this is a second reading, so we don't have to read the policy in public. But I would like the committee to consider on a going forward basis, we discuss policies. Some of these are long, and our first readings, if we don't have, if we're not legally obliged to read them aloud, I would rather we not do it. The public, we post them on our website, the public can see it. For us to sit here and read a 6-page policy, it's not the best use of the public time. So just on a go forward basis, as long as we're not violating any laws or statutes, I think that should be how we go about it.
Looking for my unmute button, which tells you how long I've been doing it the other way. There's no legal requirement to vote.
Thank you.
And they are put on
Right, so for the.
online. It's not only going to be put into our policies, but it's also on with our agenda items on our site.
Right.
So hopefully people will read them. Any more discussion? Can I have a motion?
Oh, sorry.
There's a motion on the table.
Okay. Okay, second, please.
Your
I
motion
seconded
and
it.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Now, the next one is on JHF, student safety, and it's a second reading, Dr. Cecil.
Yes, this is a new policy that was discussed pretty much in length at the last school committee meeting. It is required that we have this in place, and this is second read, and again, requesting approval.
So moved.
Second.
Move approval.
Discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cecil. And now on to new business. We're going to start with 2 because one has been withdrawn. So discussion, action, discipline, hearing, classified employee. Dr. Thornton, Mr. Garrett,
Madam Chair, recommend action based on the executive session discussion.
So moved. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Number 3 is the school committee subcommittee appointments. I am going to suggest that we keep everybody where they are, if everybody's happy. I know, Mr. Testa contacted me, that's why I put this on, because I'd like everybody to stay where they are and not move everybody around. I think that's more effective, and if everybody's happy where they are, that'll be great. The only, subcommittees that are gonna change are negotiation teams. Mr. Cornell is gonna join me with the WTU, and Mr. Testa is gonna join me with the WISE negotiations. Besides that, if anybody has a discussion, if they wanna change where they're going, or if they're not happy on one of their committees, please speak now. If everybody's happy, then we don't need to vote on it. I just wanna make sure everybody is comfortable there. Okay, looks like that's good. Discussion action, COVID-19, Rhode Island Department of Health quarantine guidelines. Dr. Thornton, Mrs. Ruggieri, and myself.
Madam Chair, good evening. Actually, today, we had a 2 p.m. Zoom call with the Education Operations Center, or the EDOC, on this very topic. And in that Zoom, they reiterated districts have full discretion on applying quarantine standards that they deem appropriate. In our case, we're following the guidance of our physician, Dr. Feldman. He's recommending the 14-day quarantine, which the EDOC or state says is the gold standard. Now, I know there's some folks that would argue we should have a lower standard. The EDOC would tell us lower standards that are, out there, having a test back days early, involve more risk to school districts. So we are going with Dr. Feldman. He's our physician. He's saying with the variants, the South African strain, the UK strain, the COVID is right now, he believes it's the safest possible course of action. So I would strongly recommend that we continue following the advice of our district physician and do the 14-day quarantine for all involved with COVID.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Do I have a motion to keep this?
Is it real an
Do we
actual
need to
item?
do an action? It says action, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, I think unless, if that's the protocol that's already been approved, then we can just leave it unless someone wants to make a motion to change it to a
I
lesser
don't think we have to. That's what we've been doing, and
Everybody in agreement?
I think so.
Okay, wonderful. The next topic. Discussion action for distance learning 2 weeks after February vacation. We've had a lot of people write to us or call us and get in touch with us in various manners. And because of the outcry and speaking to one of my colleagues, we decided to put it on the agenda for discussion. At least, I don't know if we have to take an action. We'll find out now, but I would like my colleagues and I to be able to discuss this because there is there's a balance here between those that want it and those that don't. Dr. Thornton, you want to speak?
Yes, ma'am, if I can start things off.
Absolutely.
Conversation. In my opinion, going DL after vacation is in no way good for kids. Absolutely not. Our numbers are down around the state. Kids need to be in school, and it's really what we need to do. I can tell you, some employees have approached us in the office asking how we will accommodate them after they go on their vacation. The answer is we're not going to accommodate them after they go on their vacation for red states. They'll be quarantined for 14 days for our last item. So I think we really need to think about the students here and have the students back in school after vacation.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Someone else like to speak? Yes. Mr. Thornton.
Ogden, hello?
Oh, sorry. I'll take the spot. Okay?
I had my hand up.
I can't see it. There's a glare. I'm sorry. There's a light there and I can't see you and Rob too well.
Sorry about that. I think it's counterintuitive and just plain ridiculous to help people who want to go away quarantine. If people are going away and they're taking their families, those individuals, teachers, parents of students, whomever, need to take personal responsibility and do the right thing. Now, these buildings are going to be deep cleaned while everybody's on vacation, because our cleaning staff and everybody is not on vacation. So I know they're going to be working hard, deep cleaning everything. So I am absolutely opposed to putting kids out of school any more than they already have been. People need to be responsible and do the right thing. If you're going away, then you can keep your kids home and quarantine yourselves just like everybody else does. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bacchus. Mr. Cornell.
So I've received many emails on this issue, both for and against it. I understand where some people are coming from, they're concerned that people go away for vacation. People do go away for vacation, their vacation. However, people also they go away for vacation when it hasn't been their vacation yet. And they're required to quarantine, and they need to follow the protocols. Like, and I ask that anyone who goes away, probably not the best idea, to please quarantine for 14 days, because you're putting other people at risk if you just go back to schools or go tell them. However, from all emails I've received, it's quite clear that the community doesn't want us to have 2 weeks of quarantine, going back to distance learning. And this is from both parents and teachers, and I have to agree with the community, so I will be opposing going for 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cornell. Anyone else?
Chair, if I may?
Yes, Mr. Testa.
Thank you. I too, a couple of things. Number one, back in November, we approved a policy around school closings, and our policy stipulates very clearly that it's a superintendent who makes the call on whether or not to close schools. So this recommendation has to come from him. We create a policy, we follow our policy. Secondly, I can understand both sides of this. I understand someone wants to go on vacation, and we're very clear our policy is if you go on vacation, you're quarantined for 14 days. I would hope that no one would make that choice to go away and then just lie about it when they came back. And the bottom line is we can't let the potential actions of a very tiny minority of people, which would be those who vacation and choose to lie, outweigh or impact negatively the large majority of people who are not going away. And most people don't go away for the February vacation. And I understand sacrifices have been made. Everybody's made sacrifices. Some people haven't seen loved ones in months. There's not a person in this room, I think, who has not been in that same boat. But we are in a pandemic here. And we need to make sure that our kids are in school and we can keep them as safe as possible. Now, Dr. Thorpe, to your point about staff, if a staff person chooses to go on vacation and then quarantines and follows all the protocols, there's a process for them, right? They would come back and use presumably sick time, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so and I don't think the way our sick time works, it's not a fiscal drain for the employee, and so you can't be back in the classroom because you chose to go on vacation. That's fine. We're big boys and big girls here, and we know what the rules are. So if we just follow the rules, everybody will be fine. So having said that, I wouldn't support distance learning after this either. I think some of the, for lack of a better word, testimony that we've heard from parents on the impact that just the limited time we've been back in school has had on their kids is gut wrenching. It truly is. To see the changes that parents have seen in their kids, and nobody knows their kids better than a parent, to see the changes that their kids have gone through, for the fact that they can get back into school and socialize in this weird way that we have to do it now with these masks on and this distancing, it can break your heart. So we need to keep our kids in school for as long as we possibly can. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Adams.
So like obviously we all know how bad going back to DL could be for students. I just I have a couple. I guess I have just a one question for Dr. Thornton, and maybe Mr. Hennius, depending on how it goes. And just in terms of like employment law, I just want to make sure that we're not like kind of backing ourselves into a corner by saying that they have to quarantine for 14 days and we won't accommodate them. I don't know if there's any kind of employment law that like could just kind of go in the wrong direction here or anything of the sort. I don't know if that's something that we need to like go to an employment lawyer and just make sure.
No, I don't think there's any issue with that, Mr. Adams.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mentioned one thing to add, and Tessie alluded, teachers at Warwick are afforded 90 sick days. We actually, they're being paid, so we're not depriving them of their pay.
Okay. And then just on top of that, Dr. Thornton, you did say the numbers are going down, and I do like good. It's like thank God they are. But I don't think it is a time to get complacent. I do want to make sure that we do our due diligence. That if in the Mr. Testa said the small majority of people that go on vacation, they lie about it. I want to make sure that if that happens, we avoid it at all costs or whatever it may be. I just want to make sure that we are making sure that everyone, the kids, the parents, the staff, the faculty, everyone is safe. I don't want like anything bad to happen to come from it. Because the numbers have gone down before, and we just need to make sure that everyone is safe. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I'm going to speak now. I'm not for this. I got probably over 50 emails and maybe more. And I am definitely not for this for all the reasons my colleagues just stated. But I do have a few things to discuss, and this is why I think it was smart to put this 2-week DL for a discussion. Some of the things that weighed on me was the fact that the state offered us COVID testing. We gave it to all the secondaries. We have 6,158 students on a secondary level. We had 33 people sign up to get COVID tested. And this, to me, it was devastating to me because I felt like this is a great thing we can do for our schools and for our communities. And it was passed up, so we therefore lost it. We also lost them giving us a bulk of tests to keep in school. Correct, Mr. Thornton? Weren't they supposed to give us some tests?
We have to get training and then we can find next test.
Right, so we lost out on that too.
No.
We're gonna get that?
Yeah.
How many tests are there?
We can request as many as we want. We had a school nurse go last Monday for the training at the convention center. So she will train the trainer, she will train each of the.
Okay, so that's great news. And what I'm pleading, as people say to me, they implore, I am imploring our parents to allow kids to be tested because it's going to help what's going on in our schools. I've gotten plenty of emails that says, everything's fine in our schools. Well, I have right here, as of today, some it could be higher because we're waiting for results. But as of today, we have a total of 296 people either positive or having to be quarantined in our schools. It does exist in our schools. We had to shut down 4 classrooms this week in 1 school. So it does exist. Our staff has been slaughtered by this. Mr. Oliver's group has been, hit very hard with COVID. It does exist. It is in the schools. And what everybody, every doctor I see, they say that That's the age group that's walking around asymptomatic. So I'm hoping that that number 33 will go up to 6,158. I don't think we need to take a vote on this. I think it was just a discussion. And, oh, Mr. Cornell?
I just want to say, it's like, I understand that the parents or your teachers who want to go on vacation, just please quarantine when you get back, because like, the line is the worst thing you can do, because like, if you're honest about quarantine, like, you're fine, but just please quarantine, because this has happened to us before, and we can't afford for people to just come back and not quarantine and just have a whole spread of it. So please quarantine if you, after you can go on vacation, if you do decide to go.
Yes, and I'm gonna add to that we have had situations already in our schools. Kids talk, the little ones talk. We hear of sleepovers, we hear they went here, they went there, and they got sent home. So, right, with vacation, and in general, if your kid doesn't feel well, keep your kid home. It's just, I hear, I want to go 5 days. I want our kids to go more. We're trying to progress, but it's just not this body sitting there. It's everybody has to work on this so we can progress. We are in a major worldwide pandemic, and if we do our best as a whole, as a community in our schools, to make sure that we try to keep everyone safe, then we will be able to progress, but we do have to shut down. And I will also add that, we've had some instances when we didn't have substitutes and we had to close at the last minute classes, and some parents have been very angry at that. We can't help things like this. People need to be understanding. People have to kind of roll with the punches, because it is a pandemic, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our kids in school to learn in person, and things like this will occur. So, I'm asking everybody, we need to do this collaboratively. The kids, the parents, the teachers, the staff, and the school committee. Thank you. Let's go on to the next item. In-person school committee meetings. I think this just got pushed over from the last meeting, and obviously we are here and we're trying very hard. I know there's been a lot of complaints about not being able to hear. Please be patient. This is our first one, and I want to say, and I have to say this, I need to give 10 thumbs up to the head of IT, Jeff Taylor, over here, and David Anisi. And 2 others, Joe Napolillo and Bob Basha. They worked very hard to get this so we could safely do it, and hopefully, as we get comfortable with the situation, we can work out the volume better. But I'm very proud of our staff on their efforts and hard work, and it's pretty cool, because I don't think anybody else in any city is doing what we're doing. So, thank you very much to them.
Madam Chair, if I could just say, yes, I tip my hat to the technology people, the sound, the volume, the work that it's kind of nice to see people again.
It's been a year.
It really is.
It's been a year since we've seen each other in person.
So-
A year that we've been in person.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful, and I can't thank you guys enough. I know how hard you worked. And I'm getting upset when people are texting me, we can't hear. I'm like, what do you want me to do? We're fine. It's our first time, and we're psyched. Mr. Taylor.
Good, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the feedback from the community throughout the evening. We've actually made adjustments to the sound. We're hearing different reports based on YouTube versus the Zoom folks that are on the Zoom screen. So as we progress through the evening, we have been making those adjustments. And so I do appreciate the feedback, because without it, we would have known to adjust certain things. So thank you for providing that to us.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I will say from this end, because if anyone has noticed, I have texted Dr. Taylor several times tonight because I have been listening both via Zoom and obviously through Zoom, but also via YouTube, and I have been giving him a lot of feedback as well. And it sounds a great deal better than it did earlier this evening. So like great work setting it up, but also great reactive work as well.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Okay, on to number 7, discussion update on the Renewable Energy Opportunities Project. Mr. Baxter. Mr. Baxter here?
He's here.
I'm sorry about that. So hopefully you can see my screen here. I just wanted to share with you some of the good things that my team and I are working on to improve not only our fiscal position, but also to develop instructional opportunities and to improve our curb appeal, to increase, to help, entice enrollment. So what we're looking at is, again, my challenge is to how do we convert our resources to revenue, and over the next month or so, or a couple months, we'll be presenting bids and working with consultants. We hope to develop RFPs with these goals in mind. The first would be to reduce our operating expense. We believe that through a net metering credit program, where we would agree to purchase solar power in exchange for credit off of our utility bills. And we would hope that we would, again, these are just rough estimates, plus or minus $50,000 or more, somewhere in that range. But we would expect to see a reduction in our energy expense by $200,000-$300,000 annually. The second bid that we would hope to send out is one where we would generate revenue through the lease of the land, particularly parking lots. We have a large amount of hardtop. If you think about the toll gate complex, the parking lots in front of the Career Center, in front of Tollgate. You think about even the building that you're in there, the back parking lot, and others. So, and the vets parking lots, where we can convert those parking lots and utilize that space for covered, lit parking areas. And we would stay off of our rooftops. That's the plan. We would not own or maintain the equipment, but we would receive, in addition to the sheltered parking spaces, hopefully another $100,000 to $200,000, $250,000 annually. And ideally, if I have my druthers, but it's up to you and others, if we could restrict that revenue for use to be put back into the facilities, because again, we've got so much deferred maintenance on our facilities that this could be a way over the next couple of decades to spruce them up. And we'll talk about that in another agenda item. Third goal would be to provide instructional opportunities. As we dive into this, the developers and owners of the technology would be required, we're writing into our bids, to provide access to the technology and access to technology experts, and maybe about so many $1,000s a year for a total of about $30,000 for funds for our faculty's professional development, to how to incorporate the access to the technology into the curriculum. And it might be, think about the career tech electrical program, think about a science or physics type experiments. Fourth goal would be emergency power backup generators. We think that there's a way to do that and fund them through the National Grid's Demand Response Program, either in part or in full. And finally, and this is a big thing for me, and you're going to be seeing it as a continuing message from my department, is we want to improve the curb appeal of our schools. Again, one of my goals is we need to take pride in our facilities, and we need to get folks excited in the community so that when they drive up, parents drive up and say, you know what, I want to send kids to this school, be it Vets or Tollgate or Windman or Pilgrim. We want to send kids to these schools and hopefully draw students and increase enrollment even from other districts. So that's goal. That's where we're going. This is what it might look like. Again, you can see the carports, would be Vets. And again, this is very conceptual. This would be Tollgate. This would be Gorton, for instance, where we would try to generate lease revenue. And again, in addition to the lease revenue, I think it would be a nice bonus to have covered carports, lit covered parking for the winter time, and maybe even some car chargers for electric cars. Our next steps are we're working on the feasibility, and we've done some basic research. We want to select a consultant. We would not be paying the consultant. The consultant would be paid by the developer, whoever was the developer that was successful in the bid process. We would build these 3 RFPs and release them out by the end of the fiscal year. And hopefully we would start generating some savings next year if everything went well. The land lease would be a longer term project, probably wouldn't start to see revenue for several years, but it's something that we should start on. And ideally, we could see the generators in place next year if we could find a successful bidder. Bottom line is we're trying to do this as a 0 expense project. So in each case, the district, will not be selling, we'll be selling, we're not going to be buying. So therefore, we should have 0 expense, 0 cash outlay, and 0 risk to the district, ideally. So, if as we get into this and there are any changes, we'll let you know. But that's our goal right now, and we think that that's a feasible and achievable goal. Again, bottom line is this is a win-win. We think this project will benefit the students, faculty, and the community, and will provide some critical financial relief to the district. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Cornell.
I think this is a great thing. I really appreciate how you're being so cool making this. I think this is great for the school district. I like how for the solar projects that you're targeting on the parking lot, because that's a perfect place for already developed areas. And this is just, I think, so good for a school district that we're doing something positive. And that's what we really need now. So this is absolutely, thank you very much for all this.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Testa.
Thank you. Mr. Baxter, too, thank you for this. When I first got on this committee, I had told Mr. Ferrucci that I saw every school roof as a solar array, and I envisioned turbines up on the hill in Tollgate. He educated me as to not putting solar arrays on roofs because you still have to replace the roof and they get all that extra work. But this is just fantastic stuff. I really like the idea of restricting the funds for facilities maintenance, although the new guidelines with the state $250 million bond require you to carry a line item for building maintenance. This would just enhance that, and I think it's a great idea. Question I have for you would be, and maybe it's for Mr. Hennius, I'm not sure, but do we have any jurisdictional issues with the city? Because we maintain the schools, but they own the buildings and the land. So is this something the school department can partake on its own? Or do we need to have some sort of a covenant with the city or an agreement with the city?
I've seen it done both ways, Mr. Testa, usually, again, because it's what's out the city's own buildings, depending on where what's going to be done, where panels are going to be put, if that's the place. Usually it's a joint arrangement, or at least there's some input from the city, given that they.
That was a question.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Bacchus, your hand up?
I just wanted to reiterate some of what Mr. Testa said. This is something that we had started and we were working with the city on it. And I'm not quite sure what happened with the city. I think they may have lost that person or something, but I'm really glad to see this and I hope it will come to fruition now. And of course, everything that goes into that fund for that maintenance is a good thing, and I'm completely for it. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Rob.
much. Thank you very much.
I'd like to add, Mr. Baxter, you are a breath of fresh air. Your tenacity, your energy, all of it is enlightening. And I really think that you're going to be an asset to the work school department. And I love working with you already, and keep up the good, great work, because it's exciting stuff. If we can do this and get revenue, kudos, you know, and I wasn't aware that the city was doing this, until Ms. Baca said that, so I'm glad that you had the intuition to look into this and start up again, because I think this is something that can very much benefit our district. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. The next item, Mr. Baxter, again, discussion and update on the building refurbishment program.
All right, so hold on. Let me share my screen here again. Okay, so again, thank you very much for your consideration. One of my favorite people in education has always recommended this book, and I won't go into that, but the quote is that school is not supposed to be a polite form of incarceration, but a portal into the wider world. And you know, frankly, when I walk into, for instance, the vet's cafeteria, I say, you know what, this must be what prison looks like. And I think we need to do something to change that if we want to increase our enrollment. I think we need facilities that inspire parents to send their kids to our schools. And I think we can do that just by making the buildings warm, clean, and bright, by talking to the faculty, by sprucing up the amenities, and just making them more livable and interactive. We can do this without reinventing the wheel. We certainly won't be the leader here, but there are a lot of best practices that we can adopt. And the approach that we're proposing, and we've already started, is focus first. One of our problems that I've seen is that we have traditionally been, as a friend of mine says, you know, a mile wide and an inch deep. And I think what we need to do is focus and pick a school and complete it. And to that end, we've picked vets to start this program. And what we wanted, let me explain why vets. Vets is the facility that has had the major construction completed, new roof, new HVAC, et cetera. They've got a large number of students, so we would have impact. And there's the most opportunity at vets. And what we want to do is, again, not a major construction project here, but what we want to do is just use the budget that we have and make smart choices to freshen up the building and to adopt best practices and to work with what we have, to set standards for ongoing maintenance. And we wanted to develop this vision with input from the stakeholders, particularly the faculty and staff of the buildings. And we've already started to meet with the vets administration and some of the teachers, and we hope to expand that. In addition, we want to develop private partnerships, and we've started. We're working with a company in North Smithfield. We just talked with them today. We think it will work out well. The company name is National Marker Company, and with signage that at either low cost or no cost, you know, that we can put floor decals on, we can curb decals, murals, whatever. And again, you do all of this with the resources that we have. And again, the idea would be that any improvements that we do are with the labor that we're already paying for, with materials that are already in our supplies budget. And we're just making smart choices. So when we go to paint a wall, let's paint the wall a nice bright color, and let's pick a standardized color. And you know, thanks to Mr. Oliver, we're starting to work on that. When we when I walk down the hallways, because I've been out in the buildings, and I'll tell you, I'm a little bit anal. And so when I walk down the hallway and I see greasy handprints on the ceiling tiles, I want the ceiling tiles fixed. If a vendor did it, I want that vendor to come back and fix those ceiling tiles. So those are the things that we can do. And now we're focusing on we're working as a first phase, as a prototype on the corridor from the gym to the 900 wing. And so again, in the entrance. So when folks walk into vets, when we're done, it'll look nice. And then into the cafeteria. We've got some great ideas on board. We've got no plan yet because we're in that collection mode where we're talking to teachers, again, the faculty and staff. And again, if we do this right, it should be a cost savings for the district, and it may add some revenue, but it will certainly help, boost enrollment. And again, at the middle school, I think if we can provide a good experience there, that will help further to build our secondary enrollment. So again, I just talked about this. This is the slide. We've already begun the painting. And by the next school committee meeting, regular school committee meeting in March, I should have some pictures for you and some significant progress to report. That's it. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll entertain any questions. And I've got Mr. Oliver on board here electronically to answer any questions as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baxter.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Again, I thank you for this. This is exciting to me. Quarter mile wide and an inch deep is very appropriate. In the past, the philosophy here has been, if you spend $1,000 in one school, you have to spend $1,000 in every school. And that's how you get to a mile wide and an inch deep. So picking one school and doing the work there, then moving on to the next one, I think is a great idea. Simple things as simple as paint, right? So whether the whole school needs to be the same color or whether different halls or corridors are different colors. I mean, it's just something that if you talk to people in the building, you come up with ideas, and it just makes it, as you said, it's bright, it's inviting. There's things that you and I had spoken about. To me, every school that has a flag, that flag should be illuminated.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So, you look at the word veterans, it's the word veterans, and we have a flag out front, which is nice, but it'd be nice if that was illuminated and allowed to stay up at night. So, and that is sometimes it's short money, sometimes it's not, but each project stands on its own. So I don't think we rule anything out until you explore it and see what can be done. But I really like the idea of this. I really like the result of this would be some more pride of place. People being more proud of the school that's where their kids go. And hopefully staff being more proud of the building that they're in, because when you walk around, you like what you see. It's kind of like the broken windows approach to policing. If there's a broken window, you don't fix it. It begets another broken window. So if you've got a drab building and it stays drab, that has an impact on people. So.
And if I may, Mr. Testa, we're looking at changes beyond the physical. This is hopefully, if we're successful in vets, we will, to use your word, we will have folks be more proud of the building, and hopefully garner some community support to work on other buildings. And number two, it's an experience. And so I've spoken to our food service contractor and saying, listen, the folks who are serving our students should be smiling. They should be happy. They should be treating the kids. And there are great examples of that, right? But we also want to avoid the stereotypical, and I'm happy to be picking on, the food service contractor in this discussion as an example, but we want to avoid the grumpy experience. We want to make our kids feel welcome, especially middle school, feel a little bit older, and allow them to make some choices and treat them with respect. And I think that will go a long way in just building that culture. I was walking the hallways, and I tried the cheeseburgers on Friday, last Friday, with Mr. McCaffrey, and he coined the thing, and I'm giving him credit, but kind of calling the program Warwick Pride. We want to make something to be proud of, and then take pride and share that pride in the facility and then and ultimately in the other facilities as well. So more with pride.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baxter.
Thank you.
I would just, if I was to speak, it would just be everything I already said. I'm impressed. I'm all for this. I think it's great. Tenacity is wonderful.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, discussion update, transportation update, Mr. Baxter.
Thank you again. Thank you again. And this one is, I think, also a better story. Let me just X out of this. Give me 1 minute. Bring up my slides here. 1 second, sharing my screen. Okay. No, not that. Is that- Okay, so the transportation has been a challenge for us. This is just a recap. Basically, with COVID, we have lots of students to transport and not a lot of seats for buses. And you have, thankfully for us, extended the walking distances for COVID. And anyways, even with that, we still face challenges, but we're working through them. And I just wanted to let you know where we're at. Number one, K-5 busing will begin, and this is not new, but I wanted to just reiterate it to you and to the community who's listening, because it's a message that needs to get out there. K-5 general ed busing will begin Tuesday, February 23rd. So when we get back from break, we'll do that. The bus passes just went out, and it's been a little hectic with the snow day issue, but the bus passes are out and they should be distributed this week to the children. Key thing is that only children with bus passes will be able to ride the buses, again, because the seats are so limited. And how we were able to route these, to bus these children are, we significantly streamlined the routes. Again, kudos to Miss McGovern and Miss Machado. Miss McGovern started with a clean slate, and we totally, when I say we, I mean she, totally rerouted the buses, again, starting with a clean sheet of paper. What we had to do was use that same bus multiple times. So instead of one long meandering route, we might use that bus twice. And I'll give you a hypothetical, and I don't even know if this is a real example, but for instance, at Cedar Hill, we'll go do a run, maybe one stop or two stops in the Potawatomi area, so where folks parents can bring their kids, like a depot. We'll pick up the kids, shuttle them to the school, and then send the bus out to maybe over to Major Potter on the other side of by Route 2, do another quick run and bring them back. So we're trying to get maximum utility, maximum seats out of each bus that we have, because again, we still have very limited buses. We're still not up to the full number of buses that First Student had that we budgeted from First Student. Also beginning February 23rd, we've got a career tech shuttle that will run from Pilgrim to Tollgate and back again. So the way that will work is it'll leave at 6:30 in the morning from Pilgrim, so parents can bring their kids, or the high school students going to the Career Center can congregate there for 6:30. I think we've got 4 buses if I'm right, because I think there's 87 students. I'm going off the top of my head, and we will shuttle them over to the Career Center, and at the end of the day, we'll shuttle them back. We are playing with the idea, not playing, we haven't worked out the details, but the intent is also to have some sort of after-school supervision for the students who come back on these shuttles, because their parents may not, we know that in many cases, the parents will not be able to pick up the kids at 2:00 in the afternoon. They'll get out of work about 5. And so we need to supervise the students until coming off the shuttle, until the students can pick them up from work. So we're working on that. And then I just want to, emphasize finally that we're not stopping there. We know that the middle school and the high school kids are still without transportation. And we have and currently are actively working solutions. So for instance, we were, the last several weeks have been working with RIPTA, and we know that they will be able to transport about 50, 55 high school students. So we're preparing to get bus passes for those students by the end of the month. And we're actively working with other bus transportation providers to work their remaining balance. And so our goal is to have busing options for all of the students, all of the eligible students with the new COVID walking distances from grades 6 through 12 for you by March 9th. So it's a yeoman's effort, as they say. We've got it's a big lift for us. I don't want to infer that this is a slam dunk, and we've got a lot of pieces to put together, but I want to emphasize to you and to the community that we continue to work the problem, and we're going to continue to work it until we can meet that goal. Thank you very much for your time. I can answer any questions.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Adams.
Well, first off, thank you, Mr. Baxter. It's great that we're able to start moving in that direction. My only question pertains to, I remember one email that we had received. I don't know how many people might have done the same. Was a mother who had their or parent rather had their child been in the Career and Tech Center, but they lived closer to Pilgrim, so they had moved the student back to Pilgrim because of lack of transportation. Would we be able to accommodate those people that made that decision just based on transportation to get them back to the Career and Tech Center?
That I would have to, I'm sorry, defer to Mr. McCaffrey. If they can get them back into the Career Center, I think we could put them on the shuttle to get them over there. But that would be more of on the academic side.
Mr. Adams, I don't see it as a barrier. I think we can work with any student to provide them with the coursework they have an interest in. Obviously, if they're interested in an area, they're going to do better in school. So we'll work with every student that might have an issue. If we need to, we'll make whatever accommodation is best support them.
Okay, so I'm assuming we probably have record. I'm assuming there's probably a record of any student that did go from Career and Tech back to Pilgrim or stop doing Career and Tech. Would we be able to reach out to those families and let them know that if they wanted to, they have the option to go back to the Career and Tech Center?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Alex?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tessa.
Mr. Baxter, thank you. Two questions. I know we're running 29 buses, and I know in a previous meeting, we talked about the additional 14 that we haven't been able to find drivers for, right? So that's still an outstanding issue for us, right?
Yes.
Okay. And second, when we reconfigured the routes, we essentially started from a blank slate and created new routes. Help me understand what's the process? We would create a route or routes, and then we provide them to first students, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And then, as far as their drivers and their staff would, I guess, bid on those routes, correct?
Correct. Yeah. First student has their contractual obligation to their employees. And part of that is when there's a significant change in the bus routes, and as these are new, because we haven't been providing general ed busing up till now, that the bus drivers are allowed to bid on the routes that they choose, that they have preference for. Correct.
And we don't have any influence or any role in that, right?
That is correct. That is strictly a relationship between an employer for a student and their employees, the drivers. And we are their customer and have no no say in that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm excited that there's gonna be some buses. I know we're in a pinch. Like in every other department, we're having shortages. So I appreciate all the hard work that's being done to try to accommodate as many as we can. So thank you, everyone, for your hard work.
Thank you.
And next, Baxter, discussion update on monthly fiscal report. Baxter.
Okay, thank you. No slides to share, but you have before you our regular monthly report. The first 7 pages of the traditional report that you're used to, that you're accustomed to. Towards the end is the list of purchase orders that were approved between $500 and $5,000 that we talked about at the last meeting. And in between our 2 pages, they are the reports, plural, that we are starting to send to the city finance department now every month. So you will receive them as part of your monthly fiscal report. And once you accept the reports, then we'll send them to City Hall. So I'll happy to entertain any questions.
I do have, thank you, Mr. Baxter. I have 3 things. I'm sorry, I don't have all of the documents in front of me, but it's the document that says income statement by sundry local funds for city finance budgetary entries.
Yes.
It has debt service at $284,608.
Well, that's the debt, that's the name of the fund, is the debt service fund, and that name of the fund is given by the state. And the $280,000 is the housing aid that we received, and we book it in that fund. It all rolls up into the what we call the local fund, or the general fund, that is consolidated in that first 7 pages that you have. Yep.
That's not debt service, us paying principal and interest on bonded debt.
No,
Okay.
no. That's just the housing aid that we received.
Okay, and then I just have, there's 2 items on the requisitions, and I don't need an answer tonight. You can email it to me. One is for the YAM Theater. It's a Rhode Island State Council of Arts grant. For $3,400. So I'm wondering what we're paying, what that is. If it's a grant, I would guess the money would be coming into us. It looks like we're paying out.
Can I answer that
It may be that it's an expenditure. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Cecil, go
I can
ahead.
answer that question. That was a grant that we were awarded by RISCA, and it was to work with the theater program. And so we used the grant to pay for the theater program to work with Norwood School. So, so we used the grant money to pay for theater artists to come in and work with classroom teachers and students at Norwood School.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cecil. And then the other one is, there's one for the Greater Providence YMCA for $22.50. That's that a program too?
Yep, that one I can speak to, and also perhaps Mr. McCaffrey, but that is the rental fee for the YMCA pool, since McDermott Pool is closed.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I have a question. It might be something really stupid, but I don't understand. What is the do not mail?
Oh, that's a great question. So,
It's scary, but.
no. So, Madam Chair, what we're doing is, I'm pulling the data, we're pulling the data from the requisitions that get turned into purchase orders. And I want to give you a description of what each purchase is. And I'm using a field that we used to use for comments. So for the first month, what you have is the comments were instructions from the order initiators that would say, don't mail the purchase order. Later on, as we get through and we start, because these requisitions were already in process before we started, when we made this decision at last month, at the last school committee meeting. So now going forward, as people enter new requisitions, that's the short school committee justification description field. So you'll start to see a description there for the requisitions for your benefit.
Okay, thank you.
No, good question. Thank you.
I had to ask. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Mr. Baxter.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, the next item is discussion action of the WACTC credit retrieval proposal. Mr. McCaffrey and Mr. Kane.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, you'll find in your folders this evening a description from Mr. Kane and myself on a credit retrieval proposal for up to 50 students for 2 sessions for both Pilgrim and Tollgate in the months of March and April. This concept was developed by Mr. Kane. He's recognized that some students have fallen off in the current environment that they've been confronted with, and it's a mechanism to get them back on track to make sure they have the appropriate graduation credits and they move forward in our schools.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, coming into the Career Center from being in the high school for most of my career, and those of you that have the chance to come to the Career Center, I mean, it is truly one of those gems in the city. Kids come in there, students that I've known from Tollgate, and or Pilgrim, that often don't see school as being for them, and they come into the Career Center and they're a completely different student. The problem with the Career Center and how it works with the high schools, and it's been noted in both NEAS reports and in state reports, is that often at times if a student falls off of their coursework at the high school level, the student can only absorb so much in their schedule before they have to be pulled out of the Career Center. The state has made it very clear that that's not a path that they want to see happen anymore, because often the Career Center is the most important part of the day for that student. And often the Career Center, also motivates the student when they go back to the high schools. I think this year, and talking with Tollgate in particular, Pilgrim as well, that they're seeing more kids now than ever that have fallen off their studies for whatever reason. So based upon the NEAS report, based upon the state, based upon funding that will be coming down from the state for what they call a lack of retention at places like the Career Center, we're providing this as a mechanism. It's the same mechanism that I use in summer school. It's Edgenuity. It's a credit retrieval program. It works very well. We've had outstanding success, and we're looking to do that midway through the year, because quite frankly, now we have, I think we have about 36 to 40 students that need credit as of right now that are just Career Center students alone. That obviously, also go to Tollgate and Pilgrim.
The cost of the proposal is as follows. Currently, we have 30 licenses that were purchased for summer school credit retrieval for the seniors. Those licenses are good for 1 year. We'll be able to use those licenses until June 30th. We'd like to purchase an additional 20 licenses at $100 a license to support up to 50 students per session in March and April. Those 20 licenses would also be good for a year from the date that they're purchased. The cost of the special educator and the supervisor would be similar to what's contractually followed for summer school that we have utilized in the past. I can tell you the cost of 2 months would be a little bit less than what a family medical plan would cost for an employee for the district. With that said, servicing 100 students with at a minimum of one course would relate to hiring more than one teacher for a year to make up those courses within a schedule. So I think it's money well spent. And I think it's a great idea that Mr. Kane came up with. And it makes sense at this time.
I think conceptually too, so you can understand it. We'd be looking to run Edgenuity from about 3 to 7 every day. There'll be along with myself, but the special educator will be on a Google Meet to work with kids for about 4 hours a day. And then typically at the end of that 4 hours, we're in communication with parents at home. Students can work on Edgenuity any time of day they want outside of the school day. I found in summer school, many kids hop on Edgenuity at 11 o'clock at night because they were done with work, or that's, sometimes they sleep through part of the day, and that's just their time. So it gives them the flexibility. It's color coded. It keeps track of their progress. We run it for a month because I found that a hard deadline works better than a deadline further out, because kids tend to push things off. And like I said, in summer school, we always run 90% or above as far as the graduation rate. So it's been successful.
I would also add the additional 20 licenses would be put to good use in July for a summer program that we provide to our seniors. So it would not be money wasted. It would actually be available this summer. It's something we're going to have to purchase anyway in the month of May for July. Are there any questions?
Well, I think this is an excellent program, and this is definitely needed because I know a lot of students are struggling, especially now with the pandemic. So I'm glad that they'll have this opportunity to make up courses. I think it'll be very helpful for them and allow them to continue being a career center. So I have a question though. So this is only for career center students, correct?
No, it's open for all students. There's equity between Tollgate and Pilgrim. A majority of almost all of our career center students in district attend Tollgate. But it's an equity issue. We want to make sure that we're providing the same opportunities to Pilgrim students as well.
That's absolutely great, and I'm absolutely in favor of this. I thank you for putting this together, Mr. Kane. So who's right here, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Mr. Cornell.
Mr. King's out here, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Kane, thank you very much for doing this. This is an absolutely great idea, and I just want to thank you for doing this because this is going to help a lot of students. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll just add that I agree with Mr. Cornell. Thank you very much. We need the help. Kids need help right now. It's been a rough year, and if we can provide any assistance, I thought this is very creative. And thank you for everyone involved in that. Good idea, Mr. Kane.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So can I get a motion to have this program?
I do approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item, discussion action, well teacher / TA request. That's for FY 2020 and 21 only. Dr. Conley.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, Dr. Thornton. I'm requesting the addition of a full-time special education teacher at the Warwick Early Learning Center. In addition, we will eventually need 2 teaching assistants in the classroom as well. That's not going to happen overnight. However, this is due to a recent increase of students with significant disabilities that have been identified through our child outreach screening process. The students are legally required to have an IEP and services in place by their 3rd birthday. So we know exactly when they'll be entering the district, and we are in dire need of increasing our classroom space at Warwick Early Learning Center to meet the needs of these learners. So I respectfully request your approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Cornell?
Dr. Collins, so it's for FY 2020-21 only because of, is that the fiscal?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cornell, I'm having trouble hearing you.
So the request is only for FY 2020-21 only. Is that due to fiscal reasons?
I believe so. I'm quite certain these students are just getting identified at age 3, so they are going to be with us. I think we're always looking at making adjustments in the teaching staff every year as part of the staffing process. I do anticipate we will absolutely need to continue to have this classroom next year, but with the budget uncertainty and the fact that we haven't done the staffing yet, we did want to list it as a 1-year only.
Okay. Answer that question.
Anyone else?
I just have one question.
Okay, Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Dr. So this isn't budgeted, right? But we're looking for this for, I guess it's a Mr. Baxter question, right?
Yeah.
This isn't a budgeted for this year, right? So
That is correct, Mr. Testa. This is an unbudgeted request.
we're adding the one teacher first, and then the 2 TAs would come as soon as possible, Dr. Conley, or?
We'd probably start with 1 teacher and 1 TA because especially at this age, they have to use the restroom. They need help. I mean, they need a lot of supervision. We're not going to have a full classroom overnight because the kids will trickle in due to when they turn 3. So we don't have to have the additional TA immediately, but you know, the classroom staffing model that I typically use for these classrooms is 1 teacher to 2 TAs.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Thornton.
In terms of budget, if memory serves, Baxter, we did have an offset for the year we're in. I believe that was contracted nursing services, so we would actually have it in the budget, if you will, this year. We're taking another line.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to approve this?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conley. Number 13, discussion action contract award slash Andrew Mines professional. Development.
So I couldn't quite hear you. I think that is mine right now. Okay, so this is for training camp. So this is a virtual manipulatives for our teachers to use, and we have professional learning set up for them for March. This wasn't budgeted, however, due to the changes in Cameron looked at her budget with the math interventionist and made changes to priorities and therefore reallocated funds. So that's how we are supporting this. Nikki and Nicole Green and Cameron had presented the work that the math interventionist group is doing, and I can't be more proud of all of the work they're doing in the schools to support our programming. And this will support, as students, we know it's so important for them to really work and touch with manipulatives, but in this setting, having virtual manipulatives will be very supportive.
Questions? So, all in favor?
Aye. That was, yeah.
Okay, discussion action, contract award maintenance sanitizing lights. Mr. Oliver.
Good evening. I come before you this evening requesting your approval on this contract award. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
just have one, Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Arnold, thank you, I apologize, I've had no luck, trying to find some of the things that we want to use, so that's why you haven't heard from me. Mr. Baxter, I know this is unbudgeted, this will probably be reimbursable from COVID, right?
Yes, we're expecting, so with the change in the federal administration, there's been a loosening of the FEMA reimbursable type expenses. And then also it's been increased to from 75 to 100%. And then in addition, we're expecting a second round of ESSER funding to be released shortly, although we don't have much details, but we have a rough order of magnitude, and the wipes should fall into either one of those two pockets. That's correct.
Thank you.
I have a question. These are the wipes that were like approved by the Department of Health. Should be using.
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I think you might need to adjust your mic because it became very hard to hear you and Mr. Cornell.
Can you hear me now?
A bit.
Not well.
Oh my, that's worse.
Try to fix it.
That's worse, yeah.
How's that?
Much better.
My question was, and Mr. Arnold answered it, if they're the ones that deal, the Department of Health approved. And you said yes. Any other questions, Mr. Arnold? Can I have a motion?
So moved, to move.
All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.
Aye.
Okay, the next, one is discussion action, change order bond project for the roof. That is Mr. Rockford.
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members. What you have before you is a request for approval of a change order for design work that goes back to 2018 for the toll gate roof repairs. What happened here is there was more work designed than actually got done in hopes of getting some really bad areas completed at Tollgate that eventually did not get done because the bids came in too high. Secosio was waited for 3 years to get paid for this. We have found the money in the funds remaining from the 2005 bond. So we request your approval.
Any questions?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Discussion action, contract award, emergency technology purchase. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. What we have before you is the approval of what was an emergency purchase that a few weeks ago. And working with Mr. Jerry and her department, it became evident that our substitutes that were covering our classrooms as teachers needed that support. They needed devices in order to help the students engage in their learning while they were covering those classrooms. And therefore, it necessitated us to go out again with your emergency approval, Dr. Thornton's emergency approval to go out and purchase 50 teacher devices for the substitute teachers.
I will add that I made sure that these teachers are going, the substitute teachers will be signing forms saying that they're responsible for it and they will return them when they are no longer with the public schools. Any questions?
Could you just repeat what you said? I didn't hear what you said.
I wanted, when they told me there was the substitute teachers, I wanted them to sign a release that they took it and that they would return it and they're responsible for it because they're substitutes. The last thing, I mean, it was explained to me that they can shut it off so it's useless, but we're not gonna get that. So, I was just a little concerned with that before I approved the emergency, request. Any questions? I have a motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Discussion action, contract award capital project, large space air purifiers, Mr. Butler.
Good evening again. Before I get started, there's two items that did not get included in the packet. I'm not sure what happened to them, but they did not move forward. One is an independent assessment by Fred McKiernan from ATC, who gave a positive review of this. And I had a handout to give explanation of actually how this stuff works. So if you have any questions, please ask after. So as we move forward with bringing students back and staff back to in-person learning, we've struggled to achieve the safe way to use gym, cafeterias, elementary AP rooms, and other large spaces other than using fans and opening windows and doors. In researching options, we were referred to the new Calgon iWave ion units. After review by myself and independently by Fred McKiernan of ATC, which was attached, we believe this is a viable solution for the spaces mentioned that have heating and ventilation or HVAC units. The HV units are really just hot air units. Using a portion of the $167,351 grant that is designated for ventilation solutions, we would like to move forward with a pilot project targeting Pilgrim's Gym. Mr. Oliver and his staff have been able to repair 9 out of the 10 HV units in the gym, and they are now ready for the installation of these iWave units. The pilot project would consist of, number one, air quality testing of the space before installation of the iWave units by ECM to confirm that the units work as claimed. Purchase of the units from FW Webb at discounted pricing. Installation of the units by Sheridan Electric under the previously approved school committee pricing. And then running of the HV units continuously for 72 hours after the installation to meet the required to meet the district's needs for considering the installing of these units in additional spaces. So the total cost for this pilot project would be $15,904, which includes the air quality testing, purchase of the units, and installation of the units. So I request your consideration and hopeful approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Godfrey, the other attachments that were in the packet, can you just make sure we get those? Because I'm very
Yeah, I will forward them to the committee first thing in the morning.
And this is funded from a grant, am I correct?
That is correct, sir.
So it's not on the operation, well, okay. And then, if I remember correctly, I think somebody described these to me. Do these operate in a way they kind of attach to your heating units?
They are generally attached after the filter and after the fan. So what they do is as the air crosses these two points, they create negative and positive ions. The negative and positive ions then attach themselves to bacteria, viruses, pollen, and they strip the proteins from those pathogens and kill them. And that's how they work. I've had some experience with it. I'm very pleased. But to prove that they work, that's why we're doing the pilot program before we would move forward in any other spaces. The beauty of these is they're easily removable. And as we move forward with HVAC projects in the elementaries, we could reuse what we've already installed elsewhere.
So this allows those spaces to be utilized for what?
But we could, we can put them, we could, instead of running fans and opening windows and doors like we're doing in cafeterias and having 30-degree cafeterias, we can actually run the heating units and purify the air.
Thank you very much. I like it a lot. It's interesting.
Questions? I ask for motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have it.
Thank you.
And last but not least, discussion action, building committee membership recommendations, Mr. G.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We've been contacted by city administration where they have 2 vacant appointments this evening. They are requesting that Mr. William Facente be appointed as the municipal representative. Mr. Facente works for the city. He is their acting program coordinator for the housing and community development. He's involved in renovations and construction projects within the city, has extensive experience, and has a resume attached for your review. And we're seeking your appointment this evening. We do have 1 open vacancy, and that being the construction member. That's a recommendation by the city. And as soon as we receive that individual's information and resume, we'll forward that for your consideration. I did meet with Mr. Facente on Tuesday. We spent over an hour and a half. He's an excellent candidate. I look forward to working with him on the building committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burke. Discussion, anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, that was it for tonight. Been a long night. Future meetings, our monthly school committee meeting is on Tuesday, March 9th, 2020, and we will be having on Wednesday, 17th, a special school committee starting at 6 p.m. It's going to be executive session. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And see you Wednesday.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.